So Sonata is an inter-carrier certification program. It combines the certification of access E-line services, specifically in the pilot phase. It will be extended to other inter-provider services, but now it starts with access E-line as well as the APIs that are implemented at the Sonata interface. The goal of having the API also included in the certification program is really to enable interoperability and allow buyers and sellers of operator services to be able to do business faster and in a more automated way. So the Sonata certification program has several elements, and I think the most important one is that service providers, operators can be certified in steps. This is new. This is a more agile way of going at certification. And what I mean about in steps is that for sellers of access E-line services, for instance, the sellers start by certifying their compliant service, but as the API are being developed, as the information is released in the different SDKs, new APIs, new functions are added. Service providers can keep building up their API certification. So the program has service certification, APIs, and it's done in steps. So here's a little picture that's worth 1,000 words, if I can say. It's made in several layers. So the first layer shows the players. So in Sonata, there are buyers and sellers of carrier Ethernet services, at least for the pilot program. And the certification applies to both of them. And the way it's done, you can see it on the second layer. So on the first layer is the commercial aspect. The second layer is more of the technical and the scope of the Sonata certification program. So there are several APIs that are in scope, APIs for serviceability, quote, ordering, inventory, and buyers can certify their implementation by interconnecting to a Sonata seller emulator. And same for the sellers. Sellers of compliant access E-line services can verify and certify their APIs by interconnecting to a buyer emulator. The seller and buyer emulator are also part of the cloud-based test platform that Bob was explaining in the previous presentation. And having buyers and sellers being certified and work through the verification and the development of their API using these emulators really enables for a higher level of interoperability. Another important thing is that the MEF is developing a lot of material to help in the development and in the implementation of these APIs. So there are several types of artifacts or technical documentation that are available for service providers to get ready and prepare for the implementation and the certification of their Sonata APIs. First, it's on the third level here, the technical standards. So there are several technical standards for each of the functions that you see that are in scope for serviceability, quote, ordering, inventory. They are commercial use cases and requirements documents for each of those functions. Then interface profile specifications, where you can find information models, state diagrams, and then there are the inter-provider implementation specifications and the SDKs. I've heard Bartosz this morning saying that the SDK release 4 has just came out 2 weeks ago. So now in the release 4, you have all the APIs that are at a certain level of development already available, all the information for the developers, you have the data schema, and everything is there in these documents to help the developers at the service providers to be able to start develop their code and integrate with their existing systems. And the last but not least, the certification test requirements document. For Sonata, there are 2 of them that are important, and they are here. The first one is for the Access E-line service. Bob briefly spoke about this one. This is, the name of the document is MEF 91. So these are the service attributes certification test requirements. The functional attributes, bandwidth profile, performance attributes, special attributes like layer 2 control protocol handling, service OAM, everything to be able to prepare for the certification of the Access E-line service. In parallel to that, for Sonata, there is MEF 92, which is related to the Sonata APIs. So this one, though, it's not test requirements that will focus on attributes, but more on the different messages, the different request messages, response messages, their format, the states that need to be reported in them. So, and also each of the use cases, as they will be part of the certification, will be added to the test requirements document. So in sum, for the certification program for Sonata, and specifically for the pilot phase, there are 13 service providers that are actively participating right now. Tier 1, half of them are Tier 1 service providers, and all these service providers are across the world, from North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia. So the work is ongoing. Stay tuned. You will probably see the first announcements at the beginning of 2020. And if you have any questions, technical or workflow related, please feel free to talk to any of us at Iometrix, Bob, Thomas or I, or anyone from the certification committee at the MEF, and we'll be pleased to give you more information.